What is up, people? What is up, people? Welcome to another live stream. We're going a little late tonight, but this is Where to Live in Northern Virginia. My name is Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker, your Northern Virginia real estate agent. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to be covering two topics from our series, 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask, and then we're going to talk about a question from 100 questions every home seller should ask. Tonight, we're covering question number 47 for our home buyers, which is, what is a seller disclosure? How does it affect me? And then for our seller question, we're covering question number 14. What is the broker's commission? Is it negotiable? I think we're in for a nice little treat tonight. In between the different talks, I'll take any questions that you may have about buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate. I am in Northern Virginia, so I can answer any questions you have specifically on the local front. And if you're watching us from around the country, I can answer any questions that you may have about the general home buying, home selling process. While we're getting ready for your questions, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. Fill out that form and we'll schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all of your questions about real estate. Whether you're buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, use that link and we'll talk. So before we jump into the show, I want to clear out some of the comments. And also, while you're watching, let me know where you're watching us from. Post your location in the chat and we'll get started. Okay, so somebody said, are you in other markets? Are you in commercial, 5 or more units? Unfortunately not. I specialize in residential properties in Northern Virginia. For our purposes, Northern Virginia is considered Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William, and Stafford counties. Okay, so that's where we specialize. That's what we focus on. I know enough about commercial real estate to be dangerous. All right, so let's clear out any other comments we may have, but thank you so much for that question. Are you discussing for primary residence versus investing? Yes, primary residence. Sometimes we have clients who own primary residence and they turn those properties into investment properties by either renting those properties out. And we also have some clients who actually are only interested in flipping properties, buying properties for rental purposes, 1031 exchanges, stuff like that. So that's what we specialize in on the investing side. But we also represent regular degglers, people who are buying homes, selling the homes, like most transactions in Northern Virginia. All right. So get those questions ready for me. Also, let me know where you're watching us from. Post down below. If you're watching from Northern Virginia, let us know what county you're in. All right, so somebody says, how many years does it take to get your investment back? It depends how do you enter the investment. So for specifics, you would have to have some criteria to kind of explain to us, and then we can kind of go into analyzing the numbers. But it will all depend on how you get into that investment. All right, so the next part of the process is we're going to go into our little presentation here. So question number 47, what is a seller disclosure? How does it affect me? And this is our 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. All right, so a seller disclosure is a legal document. It's included when making any and all offers in Northern Virginia, right? And so it requires that the seller provide previously undisclosed details. And it's really the seller giving their perspective of the property, like what is wrong with it, what's going, what are the age of things. Now, I used to sell real estate in New Orleans and Louisiana. And in New Orleans and Louisiana, there is much more details that go into the seller disclosure process that is kind of lost in Northern Virginia because this is a buyer beware state. So the seller disclosure doesn't have the same teeth that it does have in other states. So you should know that if you're going to be buying a home in Virginia. Now, in Virginia, the owner of the residential property, they shall furnish to a purchaser the residential property disclosure. And again, this document doesn't really say much. It really just says what they're not going to do, versus some states that actually tell you the age of the property if they know of any defects. This is a different state. So you just have to go into the purchase process knowing that you're not going to know much information about the property from the seller. And a lot of sellers, when we're taking listings, a lot of sellers just will not tell us about the property or the condition of the property because Virginia doesn't require it. Right now, they're not supposed to mislead you to any degree, but in Virginia, there is no requirement to tell you about the condition of the property. So you will get this disclosure document before the property is listed, so before the first showing. And this document is handled on the sales side. The buyer will get this document when they place an offer on a particular listing. Right now, this document is really designed as a I would say like a CYA document for the brokers and the seller. So this is why buyers have to get home inspections. Home inspections are really going to be your only defense against buying a property in Virginia, where disclosures are more it's just a one-page document. There's nothing really, there's no real information on it. So you have to take your home inspection very seriously. I would even say you have to take your first showing very serious as well. If there's anything that kind of throws you off while you're viewing a property, that makes you think that the seller is potentially hiding something, then that red flag should be acknowledged. You can't look past that, because there isn't any going back and forth with the seller about something that they should have known. All right, so the disclosure from the seller just states that the buyer should review the residential property disclosure statement, which really doesn't say much. Now, what is the seller saying in this statement? So a couple of things. The seller is saying that the condition of the property, that they don't make any representation of the condition of the property or its improvements, which is weird given the fact that the seller is the person who made the improvements most likely. And also they lived in the property, so they would know about the improvements, the condition of the property, but they don't have to do that in Virginia. Right. They are disclosing that there are no current liens, that they're not telling you whether or not there are any sex offenders in the area, whether the property is located in a flood and hazard area, whether or not the property has radon. I mean, again, there's really not much the seller has to disclose in these scenarios. Now, on the lien side, since they're saying that they don't know if they have any liens, which they would, but that's another point. Your title search will uncover any liens, right, that were placed on the property while the seller owned the property. So you do have some protection there. As far as flood insurance, our flood or hazard area, your insurance agent will be the person who kind of walks you through that part of the process. So there is some protection there, right? Virginia law states that the let's see, there could be a legal liability. Like this, again, the seller disclosure doesn't protect you. So you can't buy a property in Virginia and expect for the seller to give you any information that is going to be useful about the property when you are purchasing, right? So buyer beware. The best thing for you to do is to get a home inspection, and on your very first showing is to be paying a lot of attention to some of the telltale signs of somebody who's trying to hide things from you. So what are some of the things that we look for when we're trying to find out if the seller is a little deceptive? Well, one of the things we look for is if you have a basement that is underground, right? So it's not a walkout basement. It's below grade. That means that there's dirt around it. Then if there's fresh paint on the walls, if there's fresh flooring, if there is a dehumidifier in the basement, then there is some moisture issue in your basement. You just have to know that. You have to know that there is going to be future moisture issues in the future. There's going to be future moisture issues, and this person is already trying to mitigate that problem. Another thing to consider when you go into a bedroom, particularly the owner's suite, if the owner suite has a portable fan, right, like something you could just get from Walmart or a big box store, then that means that that room, if they have a fan or a heater, right, either or, then that means that that room is probably not getting either enough air or enough air, cold or hot. Right now, some people do sleep hot, some people sleep cold, so that's not that's not going to be a true tell, but it does give you just a little bit more information about how the owners are using the property, because the way the owners are using the property is usually a sign of what are the deficiencies or the defects in said property. Another thing you want to look out for is in the backyard. If you ever see like these little ball head patches of grass in the backyard, or if you ever see there's little spotting in the backyard with the grass, that usually is a sign that there is water flow issue. Right now, what that water flow issue is, what causes that issue, you may not be able to determine in the backyard. But if you ever see grass that that doesn't grow properly, then that's usually a sign that there is some type of water flow issue. Okay, so those are just a couple things to consider. It's again, it's not a sure bet. The best thing you could do, since property disclosures don't have the type of teeth that they do in other states, is to make sure you get a home inspection. Okay. All right. So now it's time for questions. If you have any questions about buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, post those questions down below. Also, let me know where you're watching the show from. If you're local, let me know what county you're in. If you're not, if you're outside of the area, just let me know where you're located. While we get some questions going, just want to let you know that there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. Fill out that form, and we will schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all questions. So whether you're buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, use that link in the description to schedule your Perfect Home Questionnaire. How are y'all doing tonight? Hope y'all are doing fine. We're almost to the weekend. This weekend, the Walkers, we will be going to Farmers, Fishers, and Bakers for their brunch session. We're going to be going as a family. My wife likes the brunch. She's been a couple times with some friends, so this will be the first time she's allowing us, the fellas, to come with her. Have you all ever been to that place? What are your thoughts about that place? Let me know. All right, so hi, I'm from New Jersey. Hello. Welcome to the show. So, person from New Jersey, are you planning on buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate soon? If so, post any questions that you may have. While I'm in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, I'll be more than happy to help you with some generic information. All right, so let's get into our second topic of the night. This is question number 14. What is the broker's commission? Is it negotiable? So this is from our home seller series. 100 questions every home seller should ask. We're hoping that with this series that we're doing, this will help you to have a better real estate experience overall. Also, we believe that the more knowledgeable you are about the real estate process, the more enjoyable the whole process will be for you, right? So we're covering 100 questions every home seller should ask. Let's talk about broker commission, right? So the broker commission is just a percent of the sales price paid to the real estate agent. The way a typical transaction works, the listing agent actually negotiates the commission for the entire transaction. The listing agent will then get the seller to agree to pay this commission, and this fee is paid out at the time of closing, right? Now, this commission, this fee, is then split between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. Okay, so there is one fee negotiated by the listing agent. Then that fee is then split between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. Now there are some lawsuits right now around brokers commission that will probably change commission in the future, but as of right now, this is the current system. Yes, I know that. Why is the seller's agent negotiating the commission for the buyer's agent? That's just the way it is right now. Okay, right now. In the future, we could definitely see brokers commissions where the seller pays the seller's agent and then the buyer pays the buyer's agent, but that's not the case right now, right? So we already talked about like who pays the commission. The commission is determined by the agent. Now with the commission isn't split evenly. The listing agent gets to determine that. In Northern Virginia, we on our contract, you actually have to disclose to the seller how you're going to split that commission. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, I used to sell real estate in New Orleans. In New Orleans, we didn't have to disclose to the seller how we were going to split the commission with the buyer, which the buyer's agent, which sometimes led to listing agents not splitting the commission 50-50. That is more or less like an industry standard. But every agent kind of runs their business differently, right? So commonly that commission is split 50-50. Now, is the commission negotiable is a common question, and the answer is yes. So there are no fixed commissions, but certain agents have how much they will actually charge their clients. So every agent is an independent contractor underneath the brokerage. So the brokerage can't set the commission. So the agent that you're using is quote unquote a member or affiliated with that brokerage. That agent runs a individual business inside of that brokerage. That agent could set their commission, but the brokerage can't say that all of our agents, the commission is set. Now, the average commission is between 5 and 6%. There was a study that was done that said that in Virginia, the commission right now is on average is 5.23%. And what this means is that the commission is 5.23% on the total transaction. So the total sales amount. So if you have a $500,000 property, that commission would be 5.23% of that sales price. And then that is split between the two brokers, the listing agent and the listing agent and the buyer's agent, right? So the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. So seller's agent, listing agent, those terms are interchangeable. Now, there are brokers called discount brokers, and they offer you a more reduced fee, or at least either they do a reduced fee, or they offer you a fee for a particular service. So sometimes discount brokers will offer you a fee just to put your property into the MLS, and then they'll charge you incremental fees for different services. So almost like an add-on package, like going to the car wash, right? So you go to a car wash and you could either get the wax job or you could just get the basic wash. That's how discount brokerages work, a lot of them, right? So a lot of them will offer you more upgrades, and then if you add too many upgrades, it'll be the same price as a normal or a quote unquote full service brokerage. Now, a full service brokerage, which is the second type, are the more common type. Full service brokerage is the common type, and a full service brokerage, they just handle all of the marketing process. So from A to Z, this is the person that you'll use. This person most likely has contractors. They also have a list of vendors that you could use. They'll advise you on getting the property ready. They'll do everything that it takes to really help you facilitate the sale of your property. There are some discount brokerages that actually offer quote unquote full service. So the idea that discount brokerage means that you're going to get a discount is really something from the past and no longer really relevant, right? So a discount brokerage, I would say, is it was more or less language that was put in place to kind of differentiate between the two types of services, but you could very well get similar services from both. Now, where does the commission go? So we already kind of talked about the split between the two agents. So if you have a 6% commission, 3% to the listing side, 3% to the selling side. Selling is, in this instance, is the buyer's agent, right? And then the listing is the seller's agent. So I know we use selling agent, and sometimes that gets confusing. Like, what does that mean, selling? But just think, when you see selling agent, that means the buyer's agent, right? Now, some agents will say that when they are talking about the commission and trying to substantiate why their commission is X amount of percent, they'll try to break down the percentages in a structure or in a manner that you will understand. So one of the things they'll say is, I'm charging you X percent because a percentage of my commission goes to the brokerage, another percent goes to marketing the home, and then another percent goes to my pockets, right? So my take home pay. This isn't necessarily true, but the concept is really to try to make you understand, or at least appreciate the service that is being offered. Now, on our end, the way we look at selling properties is our marketing expense isn't really any of your business, because you're really hiring us to do a certain task. And so as long as we are going to execute that task, it doesn't really make sense to give you an itemized list of charges, because if that was the case, we would have to move into like a billable hours type of format, where every time you called us, we would make a note. Every time we sent out a correspondence on your behalf, we would make a note, and we would charge you at the end of that process. Since agents are a commission-based sales job, we don't have to do these itemized sales. All right, so before we get into the questions part, a couple things that the book mentioned that are not on the slides is when you're in a situation where an agent is charging you more commission than you believe that they're supposed to, or that you're comfortable with, you should know that most agents do business through relationships. And since they do business through relationships, a lot of people don't feel comfortable negotiating with people that are quote unquote friends, right? And so agents do a very good job of kind of confusing or muddying the waters between a business relationship and a personal relationship. That is really done on purpose, so that you do not have the same interest in negotiating on your behalf, right? So just keep that in mind. We sometimes see people who negotiate much higher commissions than are normal, and a lot of times those people are able to get those higher commissions, because they have a much stronger relationship with the client. Now, this isn't to say that this person isn't worth the commission. This is just to let you know that commissions are negotiable. And if you feel like you're in a situation where the commission is higher, it makes sense to say something. So say something, let the agent that you're working with know that you would want to negotiate. Is negotiated an option? how much could you do this for? Because at the end of the day, the commission comes directly from your profits, and the real estate commission is going to be one of your largest expenses outside of getting your home ready to sell, right? So that's it on commissions, right? So what is brokerage commission? Is it negotiable? I think we answered all of that. Let me make sure my notes. Blah blah blah. Okay. Yep. So we answered everything. So let me know if you have any questions. If you have any questions about buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, post those questions down below, and I'll be sure to answer them for you. And while we're waiting for some questions, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. Fill out that form, and we will schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all of your questions. There you go. All right. So while we wait for some more people to join, we're going to end our live stream on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter and Facebook so that my editor can start editing this video down to its respectable chunks. So we'll end the show there. We'll keep the show going on TikTok for a little bit longer to answer any questions from the night crew. All right, so y'all stay put. So thank you all so much for watching the show. If you have any questions for us, post them down below. Also use the link in the description to fill out the Perfect Home Questionnaire, where we'll schedule a time to meet with you online via Zoom to answer any and all of your questions. Until our next show, peace. And also, I hope you have a great weekend. This is our last show for the week. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Peace.